Ladies and gentlemen, come gather round, come gather round, come gather around. Previously, we bought the Happy Hyundai, the saucy Swede to my angry accent. It had some bent valves because somebody forgot to change the timing belt. Today, we're going to fix that with a different cylinder head, but we're going to take it apart, freshen it up, put it together, and then put it on and make it run. Let's go! So while you can get new valves for any cylinder head that you want, we've got a Hyundai Accent section at my local Pick and Pull. So it's cheaper for me to buy a cylinder head and refresh it than it is to bother getting valves and everything for a whole cylinder head. And at this point, I had not taken the head off of our Hyundai Accent, so I figured I'll learn and see what I'm getting myself into taking the cylinder head off of this Hyundai Accent. And if I break something and it's bad, I'll move on to the other Hyundai Accent. They had like 6 of them in there, I think, this go around. And this was, I don't know, probably the summer sometime. I did realize I did not have long enough Allen head bits, so I drove off to the local Napa Auto Parts, bought a set, which you see on my toolbox, for the one size that I needed. So, and then came back and carried on. Did a pretty good job of not getting my white shirt covered in grease. Yay! So, one of the things you want to look for if you're looking for another cylinder head is the timing belt still on there? I didn't show removing the cylinder head. Old school buddy from, 25 years ago just happened by needing parts from the car beside me. So we stopped and chatted for an hour and a half and my battery went dead. So I missed that part. Nevertheless, here is the cylinder head from the junkyard. And I'm taking it apart just to see what is about it and see what I need. The head gasket, when I pulled it off, looked really good. I'm looking to see if it's been blown or scorched or any evidence of being disastrously overheated or anything. And then a shameless plug, because your clothing decisions help me make vehicular decisions. Back on the cylinder head, this is 16 valves. It has Hyundai's version of VTEC. I think it merely advances the camshaft or retards it or whatever it does. Doesn't matter. Many manufacturers will mess with the valve timing. I mean, Honda has their VTEC where you have a whole completely different set of lobes. But a lot of manufacturers will reduce the amount of overlap on the cams so you can have a nice smooth idle and good emissions, and then increase the overlap to give you some torque right in the mid-range where you want it. And this is just, Hyundai does the same thing. Took the naked cylinder head to the school shop just so it could soak with heavy-duty degreaser while I taught. Showing off the Iron Maiden shirt that my son got after seeing Iron Maiden in concert in Vancouver in October. Nice shirt. So, soaking it with heavy-duty degreaser. I think it's made by Gunk. It might be something else. And then I'm using oven cleaner. Oven cleaner will etch the aluminum. So I spray it. I wait 20 seconds and then pressure wash it off. And you can see just how quickly that oven cleaner dissolves carbon. You are a carbon-based life form, so you want to be careful using that because it will dissolve you. Then we blow it all clean. And then I brought it home. We're back in my home shop. And we're just using the wire wheel to clean all the icky, skunky yuck off of the valves. Exhaust valves are always the grossest. I'm looking at the valve faces where they seal to see whether this thing needs a valve grind or not. I used this Vevor ultrasonic cleaner to clean pretty much everything. Did the cams, the caps. I will be putting the valve springs in if I hadn't already. And then, I've got it apart. Might as well port it. I mean, it'd be rude not to. So we probably have the only ported Hyundai Accent cylinder head in town. Surprisingly, is future me speaking up here, this thing, it seems just as peppy with the automatic that it's pushing as the 5-speed I have in my own. So it's pretty good. They don't need a lot, but they're not super smooth around the valve seats. So I went and reshaped that a little bit. And then, because the valves look really good, I just a nice gentle lapping. And then I used the solvent tank to wash all of the lapping compound away and get ready for assembly. And then I don't think I show you, but I hosed her down with hot water outside and blew it all dry again, and then we're reassembling it. I made some simple cylinder head stands. I have a couple of different designs. This one just uses about a 8-inch tapered piece of, I think, 3/4 inch round on some 3-inch channel, and it holds the cylinder head at a nice height, and you can get it everything underneath. Certainly handy that way. I'm using Fel-Pro gaskets. I like Fel-Pro. So fresh valve seals, a little bit of grease on the stems, Lucas assembly oil, and slowly putting her all together. Tedious, but kind of fun. When you're taking it apart, a magnet on a stick pulls the keepers out for you. When you're putting it together, a flat blade screwdriver with a little dollop of grease on it will hold the keepers. A little bit of dollop of grease in the keepers will make them stick to the valve. So grease is my go-to when I'm reassembling all of these. The hydraulic lash adjusters were ultrasonically cleaned for, oh man, might have been 2 hours. And it actually worked really well once the thing was running and they quietened up. I may think it pulling all those out on my head as well. There's a colored link on this chain that joins the two cams together, and there's a wee dot at the top of this VVT thing that you can just sort of see, and then I'm just checking to confirm that that actually is the dot that I need. Then we're back at the school shop, working after hours, pulling a cylinder head off. Just like the junkyard, only you get to actually see me remove it. And since it's the same kind of thing, we might as well get into some cylinder head blues. you want to progressively install the cam bearing caps. They are numbered, intake and exhaust, arrows pointing in the direction you want to go, so it's pretty foolproof. And I made sure that there's good oil there. There is no bearing for those. The cam just rides on the surface of the head. So put her all back together. Little dollop of silicone on the valve cover gasket corners because they don't always seal all that well. And then we're putting the timing belt on. And this, I wanted to make absolutely sure I wasn't off by a tooth. So it took a little bit of shenanigans to make this thing, to check and confirm that I actually had the belt on correctly. And then once I had it right, tighten her all down, all new belts on the front. In our previous video, when I went through diagnosing this, I expected to see a broken timing belt. And when I opened it up, there was a fresh timing belt. And I'm pretty sure it's absolutely brand new. But they didn't even change the V-belts, the serpentine belts, which is just kind of hokey. Anyways, putting it all back together, getting everything all tidy and tickety-boo. New intake gasket, new exhaust manifold gasket, adjusted the belts all nice and tight. And then just trying to reach around through everywhere to get all the last little bolts done. Only thing left over is one weird bracket. I don't know where it came from. So I forgot my camera at home, but so I'm using the cell phone. It's probably dodgy and shaky. But fired right up after I replaced the fuel pump fuse, because I mentioned the fuel pump had not actually been properly connected. So to make sure I didn't puke fuel all over the place, I took the relay out, relays back in, fired up. Lifters were a little noisy, as they typically are, but I'm going to run a chemical flush through this a few times over the next couple of oil changes. But it runs, purrs like a Korean kitten, I guess, but it's going. All new timing belts because I'm taking it on. No, all new serpentine belts, V-belts, because I'm in there anyways. A little bit of smoke came off from the penetrating oil on the exhaust manifold, but that smells good and I liked it. Battery works. I did. The car came with a keyless, not a keyless, remote start system, which you can tell by the Scotch locks on there and the jumble of mess and all the shenanigans of previous people working on here. This thing is killing a battery. Chances are it's probably that. So I cut that out completely and I'm just not going to do it. Anytime you got electrical problems, the first thing you want to do is remove what is very likely your electrical problem. And 2-bit hack with electrical is not a good mix. So we don't have that. Anyways, it's going, it's running. We're going to put plates on it and drive it home. And you'll see this in my shop at home as we do more to it. And here it is, moving under its own power. 1.6 liters of automatic transmission fury, just itching for high fuel economy. So getting her in there, driving it home, and this is where you discover just how reliable this might actually be. I suckered my son into driving me out to the school so we could pick it up and take it home, and then follow along behind just in case things fall off. But this is where we're leaving it. Thanks for watching, and take care. We'll see you again.